Soft Assistant. Now you can have software in a Windows environment which allows the management of automatic door installations without leaving the office, from any computer, without the need to make a journey every time you have to deliver a new remote control if it is lost or broken. To enjoy this practical tool, you just need to install the software, the Soft Assistant, on the computer and connect the assistant by means of a USB cable. Before creating a new installation, we have to study what we wish to do. Firstly, it must be given a name. We must know the doors which have to be automated, the receivers used at each door, the number of dwellings that each building has, the groups we will create, and the transmitters that correspond to each group. In our example, we have a neighbours community, which we will call Roundabout, with 3 residential buildings and a community car park at the entrance, which does not correspond to any building. So we have an entrance door to the community garage and 3 entrance doors to the buildings. Hence, this installation has 4 doors and will thus require 4 receivers. 1 for the community entrance, 1 for the door of building A, 1 for the door of building B, and 1 for the door of building C. To create a receiver, we go to the Structure tab, clicking with the right-hand button on the installation name and selecting the option Add Equipment. A new window appears where we write the door location and we assign the receiver we want it to install. In our case, it is the base 500 1B. Then, once the receiver has been created, we go to Configuration and we increase the installation security, forbidding manual and radio programming. When we create receiver equipment and configure it, we do so at the Structure tab. By contrast, when we wish to create user groups or authorised transmitters, we do so at the User Groups tab. We'll now decide who may open each door, and with this in mind, we go to the User Groups and form different user groups according to your access requirements. In our example, we have 5 groups. 1 which has access to the community door and that of building A, 2 which has access to the community door and that of building B, 3 will also access the community door and that of building C, 4 which may only access the community door to the car parks at the entrance, and 5 for the cleaning and maintenance equipment, which have access to all the doors of this installation. To create the user groups, we have to be situated above the installation name, clicking the right-hand button and then selecting the Add Group option. Here it is necessary to give a name to each group and indicate which channels have to open the doors. In the case of Group 1, Channel 1 of the remote control will open the community door, and Channel 2, the door that gives access to Building A. Group 5 refers to the maintenance equipment and the installation, and so, if there are 4 doors, each channel will open a different door. The members forming part of each group will have a remote control which will only open the doors to those who have access. This is why it's very important to calculate how many we will authorise and how many we will reserve for each group. Let's take a look at our practical case. We have 4 doors and hence 4 receivers and 5 groups. Remember that 1 receiver can go to different groups. So if we install the base 500 1B receiver at each door, the total sum of transmitters for each group must be no more than 500. Notice that all groups pass through the community entrance door, so it will have a maximum number of codes and reservations, and hence the other doors will not take up all the 500 codes. In our community, for groups 1, 2 and 3, which have access to the community door and to the car park for one of the buildings, we will authorise 50 codes and 80 reservations per group. In the case of the group that only enters the car park, 4, we will authorise 50 codes and reserve 40. Group 5, the maintenance one, is that which requires the least remote controls. We will authorise 10 and leave 10 in reserve. In this way, we will observe that the doors accessing buildings A, B and C have 60 codes authorised, 90 in reserve and 350 free for each. By contrast, the community entrance door, we will have 210 codes authorised and 290 in reserve and none free. We will authorise the remote controls in line with each group and the quantities we have calculated. It's very simple. We will position ourselves above the selected group, clicking the right-hand button and going to Code Authorization. We will select the sequential tab and note down the number of transmitters we wish to authorise. We'll then indicate the type of transmitters, and finally we'll click the blue Start Code button to read the transmitter code automatically. We'll place the remote control with the lowest serial number on the assistant without taking it out of the box, and at the same time we'll press the two buttons. We'll see the number of the first remote control alongside and how this is recorded sequentially in the software. Carry out this process with all the groups. In the end, check that the number of devices we have requested has been authorised. In particular, it's very important to identify the transmitters properly to each remote control has been assigned and which opens the extra fields you have in each group. We'll then click the right-hand button again on the desired group and we'll go to the Reserve tab. Here we note down the number of transmitters in reserve and the transmitter type. These reserves will allow us to assign new remote controls without going to the installation. When all this is done, go to Structure and record the codes of the transmitters which have been authorised and the reserves in the memory. We'll record one memory for each receiver. In our example, we'll record 4 memories, one for each door, and we'll install them in the corresponding receiver. The technician then goes to the corresponding community and installs the equipment. Now, all you have to do is distribute the remote controls amongst the users. Best of all, if it is lost or stolen, or we need a new remote control, the user will only have to make a call or send an email. In just a few seconds, the person responsible for the administration of the property or installation will replace it, or create a new transmitter at the office and deliver the new remote control or send it by post. It's a straightforward process. If the remote control is lost, you can locate it at the soft assistant in your group, putting the remote control code and pressing the right-hand button at the mouse and clicking Replacement. You put the new remote control on the assistant and press the two buttons at the same time, making the replacement. At the same time, when the user presses the new remote control alongside the receiver, upon entering the door, the lost transmitter stops working. The installer, the property administrator and the person responsible for the car park or neighbours community will see that a lot of time and journeys are saved using Soft Assistant. It's quick, effective and convenient and ensures maximum reliability. Only the installer or the administrator can assign new controls. The programme, compatible with Windows 7, Windows 8, XP and Vista, is very easy and user-friendly, and you can deal with everything without leaving the comfort of your office.